everyone. My name is Loureiro, and I work for Zoetis, which, thanks to you, is today's leading animal health company in the world. On behalf of Zoetis, it's my privilege to be here today to introduce you to this today's symposium, which will be focused on cattle handling and its influence on animal well-being and animal health. I have to start by making an announcement. There's been a little change in the program. Contrary to what you have in front of you, we'll actually start with Dr. Paulo Loureiro, and then he will be followed by Dr. Kevin Sullivan. If I may then, let me start by introducing to you to Dr. Paulo Loureiro. Our first speaker comes from Brazil, where he graduated as a doctor in veterinary medicine by the Federal University of Uberlândia, and for years, Paulo has worked as a top consultant in Brazil on the area of beef cattle. About 7 years ago, Paulo decided to have a little change in his career, and he joined the animal health industry, and today he is the global lead for a group that we call the Commercial Development and Life Cycle Initiatives at Zoetis. So under that role, Paulo is actually responsible for developing and executing the entire global strategy for new products in cattle on a global perspective. But Paulo still remains very passionate about animal handling and animal welfare, and that will be the topic of his presentations today. So please help me welcome Dr. Paulo Loureiro.
Thank you. Let me start with a question. Have you been there? There, with them. It doesn't matter if you're talking about Bos Taurus or Bos Indicus. Every time you go to work with them, they come to you. They want to see you. It is not aggression. They just want to connect. So I was thinking about this lecture, and as Fred said, I have the honor to do what I'm doing today for Zoetis, but I'm a vet. And I'm a farmer, so this touched my heart in a very deep way. So I thought, what can I share with you today? So 3 things. One is, how can I help people to understand cattle behavior in a higher degree? Second is, how can we connect management, cattle handling, with animal health? Many people think those 2 things cannot connect with animal health. And third, how can we use this knowledge to avoid, problems with people? People get hurt, people get killed handling cattle. And also improve cattle well-being, and then you can have economic benefits. So let's start. Where I grew up, things were a little tough in São Paulo state, close to Paraná state, west of São Paulo city, maybe 400 kilometers west. So in that farm, cattle was punished with a stick every time they didn't do something the cattle handlers are asking them to do. People used to get hurt as well. I saw many bad things, people losing fingers, broken arms, even a leg. And I had some friends that really got very bad injuries. And all activities should be done very fast. It was a huge pressure on do it fast, get it done. And what amazed me at that time as a child and as a teenager was that the veterinarians were never involved with the handling of cattle. They were just at the chute. Arms crossed, I want cows here. And cattle was usually very scared. So then, so here's home, and the cattle is here. So where I grew up was more, hosting, not Nelore. And if you travel across Brazil, and I had the pleasure to work in all the states in my country before coming to work internationally, you're going to find those things everywhere. You can see sticks, different size, because you can hit the animals here, 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 and there. So it's quite normal. And the animals, normally we have in Brazil more or less 80% of our cattle population is an LR, and they move fast. So every time they move, people just hit them. And then someone came with the idea of the flags, and that things got worse because the NLR is so fast that if you have anything else in your hand, you can, if you don't know how to use those things, you can create more damage. And then this is what you have, and a lot of waste on carcasses. So my goal was always to move sticks, flags, and I hate those cattle, the electric prods away from cattle, you know. And to do that, you don't have to have anything in your hands when you're working with cattle. So when I started doing this many, many years ago, people used to say, oh, this is crazy, you're going to get hurt. But I always ask them, give everything to me. So this is a normal collection before I start my work in Brazil when I was there. And so you have to ask cattle to work for you in a way they can understand. So you look at them, you connect with the eye, and then you say, and they go, whoa, you can connect with me. And then you look where you want them to go, remove the pressure, and they go. That's quite simple. So the key is the eye, not the shoulders. The shoulders, they just avoid, you know, the chest to touch the ground. They're not a sensitive apparatus. So you need to connect with the eye. And it's so common to see people trying to push animals from behind. And they scream, they shout, they use flags, they do a lot of things. But you see, animals are trying to move their ears to understand what's coming from behind. Because the right way to work with cattle is from the front. So very quickly, I just have 35 minutes today, so I cannot speak too much about it. But those rules are very, very simple. Cattle wants to see us. They want to stay on the same level. We need to work with them at the same level. It's easy for them to find you. So work with the front. Guide them and not chase them. You don't need to chase cattle. You don't need to force them to do something. They love to walk around you. So if you're here, I will try to use this, okay? They want to go half around you. The more you do that, more confidence they get on you. It's easier to work with them. And they want to come back, from where they came from. This is normal for cattle. So if they want to come back, let them go and push them back. And important thing, they have two eyes, right? So one eye will be on you if you work from the front, and the other one is going to be in their destination. They love to see that, you and their destination. And as a friend said to me, they just can think at one thing at a time. And also, they need to trust you. The more you work with them, you build trust. So you have to experience that to know what I'm talking about. So here I'm working with this colleague. He's responsible for a 35,000 head feedlot in Brazil. He never worked this way before. Even the cattle, they don't understand what I'm doing because it's the first time they're working without a flag or stick. But it doesn't take too much time to make straight their heads. Cattle cannot walk if their heads are not aligned with their bodies. Once you do that, once you can align the head with the body and they can see where you want them to go, it gets easier. So then they need to see you, so you go with the first, so they see you, and then you remove the pressure. And you invite another one to go. So you see, they're always looking at you. Once you do that, you can dictate the rhythm. You want them to walk, you want them to run, it's on you. Get some time for them to adjust to you, but once you do that, you can control the flow very easily. Always focusing on where you want them to go. Your head should be aligned to where you want them to go. And then if you want them to stop, don't jump. Just look straight in their eyes. They're going to stop. Then you remove the pressure, and they're going to walk away. I'll walk again. You can do this with a lure, with hosting, with jersey, with anything that's above. If it's a bovine, they're going to understand you. Then think about that. How can you connect management and cattle handling with animal health? Because that's what we do, right? So where should we focus on? So I see a lot of people discussing, time. We need to get things done fast because the feedlots are big or the farmers have a lot of cows. In my country, for instance, 10,000 cows is normal in a timed artificial insemination program. I work with more than 60,000 cows in one farm. And you can do that without even touching the animals. To me, it's not on the clock. It's the way you do things. Then people talk about performance. Everybody needs to make money. But you cannot make money if your animals are not comfortable where they live. And then you think about milk production and also beef production. But they're just going to become food once they're going to the packing plant. Before that, they are our responsibility, and they shouldn't be living in a place where they don't trust or they don't feel comfortable. And you need to respect an order. First, animal well-being. They have to be comfortable. Second, you do prevention. Then you try to detect disease, and then you treat. And they're going to get sick, unfortunately. But if you do the basic things right, you're going to have less sick animals and more performance. And one more thing, it's impossible to have a neutral interaction with cattle. Is it going to be good or terrible for them? There's no medium level, you know, it was neutral, no. And all interactions matter. Every time you see cattle is a chance for you to make that connection. And we can shape their behavior. If they are young, and you can go to any farm, anywhere in the globe, separate moms, you know, from their calves, and work with calves. They're going to do everything you want them to do, because they don't fear you. But then we start training them to not trust us, because we hit them. Then when they are steers, heifers, they become professionals to hit you back. And when they are cows or bulls, then they can come after you and really create a big issue. But if you don't do those things, they're going to behave very peacefully with you. And cattle forgive fast. So if you do a bad thing today and tomorrow you're acting okay, they come back to normal. But the best thing is to be consistent. If you're consistent, your operation runs easily, fast. This breed, to me, is the most easy breed to work that I ever work with. It's the Loureiro, came from India in the 60s to Brazil. They are so smart, and they like to be together, and they like to connect with you, to work with you. And also, if you don't make a decision, they will make a decision for you. So that's the problem with the Loureiro. Sometimes you are there, they're there with you, but you don't know what to do, they're going to do something. So that's what scares people. And you see terrible things like this. I'm not showing this too much because I have so many of this and I hate it. But why? There's no reason. And then every time you put too much pressure on cattle, you start what I call the bad cycle. You're going to have stress, and you're going to increase cortisol. You're going to depress immune system. Disease will be there, you know, just waiting. Certain bacteria will just jump in and multiply. Poor health, they lose weight, and then if you continue to do that, cattle will be destroyed. These guys, the cowboys, are not the problem. The problem is who is teaching them and what they are learning. So if you teach something wrong, they're going to do it. They're there to work. They don't want to get hurt. They want to go home intact every day. So every time you go to work with them, and that can be in Brazil or South Africa, and I had the pleasure to work all across the globe, they will listen to you. So one example, in this farm in Brazil, in the north of Brazil, I don't know today, but at that point in time was the biggest timed artificial insemination program in Brazil, about 70,000, 80,000 cows in artificial insemination. So I was training them the first day there. They have 440 cows waiting for to put the cedar. And these guys were trying to separate calves from their mothers. And I can continue this video for a long time, but it's just terrible. So what I do, I just stop the service. I just stop what they're doing. I say, guys, let's have a break. Let's drink water. And normally I say 15, 20 minutes. It's the same time you need to cool, when you cool down when you receive that terrible email. Don't reply, just walk around the house and then come back. It's 20 minutes, you're gonna be great. So then what you do, you try to remove the pressure. So we separate them in small blocks and we move them inside the corral. And then you remove everything you have on your hands. So these guys never work this way. And you position them correctly, guiding them from the front. So then you can start separating cows from babies easily, very easily. Cattle don't want to hurt you. They want to follow you. And then you can put the cows inside the snake easily. The mud is characteristic from that region in Brazil where you have 2,000 millimeters of rain per year. So this is October. November is raining a lot, so that's why. And you can teach people to position in a correct way. So this guy, you can see he's a master. One step, he reduced the speed one step to the right, increase the speed. It's all about putting pressure and removing pressure. So you don't need 20 people to do the job. In my country, it's normal. If you have a cattle operation and something's not going well, what do you do? You hire more people. Then you have cowboys, banging their heads. So you don't need that. In other parts of the globe, it's different. You don't have that manpower or that a lot of people asking for working with cattle. So then you have to train people properly, so to avoid, the rush inside the facilities, and also to do the job the way the job must be done, which is like that. So this farm is 2018, right? I started this in 2001. So today they can do whatever they want with cattle, with one people. So you can sort them easily. So these cows are still learning. But you see, they don't want to hit André. They just want to go and pass the gate. Then you think about that. How can you increase work safety? How can you increase cattle well-being? And how can you have economic benefits doing those things? Facilities can be a big issue. And they should help us, but the problem with facilities is big across the globe. People are investing a lot, and in my opinion, they are not investing well. So take a look at this. Guys are on a catwalk, cattle is down there. So in order to cattle to see their handlers, they need to raise their chin. When they do that, the front feet opens. And they are like this. They cannot move. They just wait for you, but they cannot move. They're looking at you. It's like when you are on a horse and you put the reins, head goes up, front feet stop. So that's the effect of the catwalks when you work in cattle. So I learned to work with cattle on the floor, side by side with them. And if you are on a catwalk, that's what you have. Cattle spinning around, they don't know where you want them to go, and then you need to use prods, sticks, flags to push them. People make huge investments. This corral, I will not disclose the value, but I was told it was really expensive, and they brought me there to try to fix, and I say, the only thing can fix this corral is dynamite. You have to put it down. There's no way to fix, because it was a bad design, and those curves are impossible. And also, cattle cannot see you. They're blocked. They don't have the vision. Cattle has a beautiful peripheral vision. You have to use that in our advantage. Allow them to see you. So then they can understand. When they don't know what you want them to do, you need to do this. They stop. And then you see the flags? That's why I removed all the flags where I go. You don't need them. Because if people have something in their hands, they're going to hit the animals. I never saw anyone biting a cow or giving a punch, but I saw them doing this all the time. So I said, take it away. You don't need that. In order to make animals move inside this place, you need to remove the people, connect with their eyes, and ask them to walk for you. And they do it. So also, I'm not saying you have to put all the facilities down. You can work, but work with the front, like this. Once the first one goes, you connect with an eye, find an eye, put pressure, work with the front, and they're going to walk for you. And you need to tell the truck drivers, don't touch them, don't do anything, just wait. We don't want the heartbeat to go up. We want these animals to have 60 heartbeat, not 120, 150. So I asked myself, why people don't do things, the way cattle likes. Cattle like to travel straight, always straight. Go to a farm, climb in a tree, look, the path the cattle create when they go to the water is always a straight line. I never saw a cow going to the water doing like this. The drovers, I work with drovers since I was a kid. They always guide the cattle from the front, always in straight lines. So here's one kind of facility. I'm not in the business of building facilities. This is not my business. But if it's a straight line, it's better. So, and then you can use resources like the butt box, because I told you cattle likes to come back from where they came from. So you can use that behavior to help you. So here's an example. This day I loaded 84 heifers with calves. It's right here. In what, 15 minutes? 14, 14, 14. So I'm bringing them in, 650 kilos. This is in Queensland, Australia. There's two behind. So I'm gonna ask them to come. So you see here, the alley, straight. So then I position myself in the corner. I find an eye. And because it's bovine, because I don't put too much pressure, I give my shoulders, maybe my back. I don't need to look in their eyes so closely because then they will stop. It's too much pressure. If they are packing there, I just step ahead and I come back. I control the flow. And they're just going inside the truck. This one stopped, so what do? I look in their eyes, boom. When you look inside the eye, like you're shouting, go, and they just fly. And I bring more and more, and so it's so easy. When you're working in a place like that, you just don't see time passing. It's just nice. It's, very nice. So this one is the largest feedlot in the world, as far as I know. They can have here 150,000 animals in this facility in South Africa. I had the pleasure and the honor to work there. My South African friends, I see one here, they took me there. And you won't find one curve in this facility. It's all straight. So here's the processing barn. Here's where you receive the animals. And you have two bud box working side by side. You can sort 16 different groups of cattle here. So they have 0.6% mortality there. Everything we're talking about here, they do there. And take a look. So this was the end of the day. So we did in this day more than, I think, 1,600 animals, 1.6 thousand animals there. So, and they just walk for you. No hurt, no rush. It's one at a time. The second bud box. So, in my opinion, this is the best processing barn that I ever work in. It's an amazing place. And then think about the money you lose when you're processing cattle. You lose a lot of money. We lose a lot of money. The industry is losing a lot of money. So before you start processing cattle, before you put those animals inside your feedlot or inside your farm, you need to ask if they're ready to be processed. They need to be rested. They need to be full of water. They need to be full of confidence. And that can take you only 24 hours or 36 hours, even 2 days. But what are 2 days? So once they are done, they're ready, then you can work with them. And if they drink, they eat, they rest, they have confidence, you can ask them to go inside the facilities, and then you can give our precious vaccines and help them to perform better. And then when you're working with the crew, as a veterinarian, you have to give directions they can understand. If you say, go easy, what is that? So if you tell them cattle should walk inside the corral, they should walk to the processing barn, inside the snakes, into the chute. And people go, oh, that's not possible. Oh, it is. And by the way, I want one at a time. I don't want any animal sleeping. I don't want knees touching the ground. I don't want to hear too much noise. And most importantly, I don't want to hear my cattle urinating. Because when you're scared, that's what they do. Even with people, it's like that. So when you give those directions and they start seeing you working and teaching them how to do, they're proud. They're going to go, I can do that as well. I have to do that. It's just easy. So here is one colleague. She's being trained for the first time in a bud box, and Ton is doing this. Ton of Singer is doing this with her. I'm filming. So it's the first time she's going, and you're going to see how well she does the job because she saw us doing, and she's going to do it. So no animals sleeping, no animals running. They're just going into the alley directly to the chute. She's not doing anything. She's just there. But Tom's not happy. He wants more. She explained. When you put them inside, step back, because that's how you thank them. Every time cattle do something nice for you, you step back, and they will understand. And one at a time. That's what we need to do. You don't need you don't need people here. This guy is the guy who's asked them to come inside the chute. This way you can do 120 per hour. I did 150, but 120 is great. Why do you need more? And also think about shoes. You have to put something between, the floor and the animal's hoofs. Can be rubber, tractor, tires like this. And the animals would thank you for that. So sometimes you can't do that. So this is in Australia. We were working with people there, and they have this, I'll use the word strange facility. So, and I say, okay, we can do it. So just remove the pressure. We ask them to come inside. You see they're walking. I'm in the wrong position because I should be there, but I say, okay, I need to film this. And I was doing before. You ask them to go inside. We needed to open the tube because the animals cannot see you from inside. So how can they follow you if they cannot see you? And they walk. It looks low, but it's not. This one, we are training those two fellows first time, but it can be faster. You see, when he put his head down, she's asking, where you want me to go? And then they go. And if you do everything right, after you processing them, they're going to play. Cattle can't tolerate a needle. They don't care about that. What they don't tolerate is the stress before the shoot. That's terrible. So if you do it right, they play for you. If you put food here, they go directly to the bunk. And that's the way you should work with cattle. This company exports a lot of cattle out of Australia, so they care about that. Because they are rewarded by weight when the animals arrive into China or Russia, wherever they're going. Tom is not here today, he's in the US, but every time I speak about animal handling or cattle handling, I have to talk about Tom. He taught me so much. So, and one thing he always said to me, and he repeated that many times, is that if the animals are not comfortable where they live, if don't trust the handlers, they won't be honest about how they feel. Kevin is going to show that to you. I'll hand it to Kevin to show this part to you, but that's true. They hide fatigue. They hide disease. And then when you find them sick, it's too late. One more thing, space is very important. I think space is really important. Many places on earth, I see things like that. We are treating cattle like with all due respect, as swines, but they have different needs. And you see strange behavior, like this. Should be a dog, not a steer, But because the flooring is not ideal, he doesn't understand because it hurts. And also, you can help those animals. You don't need to say, put it down. Think about this. This is Lebanon. Inside Beirut, you're going to see feedlots like this, our buildings, like parking lots. And they bring the lore from Brazil, especially from the north of my country. And I was there to try to help them because some Nelores try to jump, from the building. So one of the things we have to do with them, because this is not normal for them, it's abnormal totally, is to create some kind of stress relief for them. So Kevin and I, what we did was we took them to the bottom of the building and we walked them. And we asked them, you have to do that every 2 days at least. And then they can walk, come back, have some fun, and then you put them up. That's what it is. I cannot put it down, all the feedlots in Lebanon, but you can help them to do something for those animals. And they will thank you with performance. And then, think about the feedlot. It can be very boring, right? Stay inside a pen for 250 days, for 300 days. Wagyu cattle, 500 days. So exercising those animals are really good for their health and for their state of mind. So here, I don't know, can I have sound? I wanna show these guys playing. So one thing you can do before shipping, maybe in the last 40 days, or even during the entire feedlot period, is to play with them. Do you have sound? So you open the gate, close the fence, the fences, let them go by themselves. You see, tail up, jumping. This is joy. and you just point your chest and your head towards the gate, and they will go. You don't need to do anything. They will understand. First time, maybe they go, what is it? What is it? And you play inside the pen, and then you can allow them to go out and bring back. It's super cool. And I'm not talking about performance here. I don't want to say numbers, but you know, you have increasing even in dry matter intake if you do that. But the most important thing is you keep them engaged. You keep them not. You break the board. It's really bored if you stay there. You lock the key, you lock the room, throw out the keys, and leave those animals alone. You just go there if they're sick, and they will come back. Then you create a confidence cycle. You ask them to play. You acclimate them. Acclimation, I think Ed's going to talk a little bit about acclimation. I don't have time. But the important part is they are drinking, they're eating, they're resting, they're ruminating. Then they increase the confidence on you, on the handlers. And then you decrease the stress, but you turn on the immune system. These animals will respond to our vaccines way better if you do that. And you have to practice. I'm tired to see people say, I know what I'm doing. I know this thing. Well, I work with the best people, and I want to learn from them, but there's no perfect. You have to practice to get better. Be humble. Go there, work with those animals, so you're going to learn a lot. And talk to people that know more than you, that have more experience, so you can learn. It's always going to be beneficial to you. And remember, if the cattle is not answering what you're asking them to do, it's because you are doing something wrong. It's not because of the cattle. It's you asking the wrong way. And I know, I understand, people need data. They need to see to believe. So instead of me saying more things about how you can have increased profitability or to have better outcomes in your operations, I will hand this to my friend Kevin Sullivan. Okay? So thank you very much.